everybody. How are you doing today? Mitch Jackson, along with Mr. Police Officer Mike Bires. Mike, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great, sir. Thank you for having me on the show.
Absolutely. This is TheShow.live, and as you can see, we have a special co-host and guest this morning. Mike Bires, Jennifer Hoverstad, my talented and long-term co-host, is taking care of business in Spain. So she's on the other side of the world, teaching them how to use social media and live streaming to improve their businesses and their lives. But I'm excited to have Mike with us today because we're going to be talking about a very important topic, and that is, how can you keep your social media communities safe? How can you keep yourself safe on social media? And I think as the show develops, you'll see why Mike is our co-host and special guest today, because this is a very, very important topic that a lot of people really don't have a good appreciation of, do they, Mike?
No, absolutely. I think they kind of skip over it or don't realize they need to use some of the same things they do in everyday life in the real world. They need to use those techniques, those safety tips in the virtual world as well.
And so I brought Mike on because, number one, he and several other friends who happen to be police officers are very involved on social media. They're involved with using social media to build bridges and to connect with their communities. And Mike's got lawandorder.live. Tell us a little bit about that, Mike, before we dive into today's show.
So lawandorder.live is a website full of information, news, tips, and training for the law enforcement community to learn how to use social media to their advantage for both the police officer or law enforcement officer individually, and also as a department or an agency out there trying to form those relationships with their community and be transparent. And so we started that website because Mark and I and a slew of other officers that are involved with it are all really passionate about social media and community policing.
And you guys are doing such a good job. I've gotten over in the chat some notes that my microphone was kicking in and out. Is this better, you guys, or should I refresh?
Yeah, it is coming. It's dropping and raising. It's going through a whole bunch of things.
Okay, let me go ahead and refresh real quick. I'll be right back. I did change the settings.
Okay, I am back. How does that sound?
Way better. Way better.
Sorry, guys. My bad. It's all about the settings, everybody, right? The settings life. But listen, I just learned something. We are on the Hoverstad platform. This is the platform that TheShow.live has moved over to. And thanks, everybody, over in the comments for letting me know that my audio wasn't coming in crystal clear. But one of the reasons, Mike, we're on this platform is because of the audio and the video. It's first rate, it's first class, and the co-founders of Hoverstad are really striving to have quality producers engage and use their platform. So we're honored to be here, and Hoverstad is one of the co-sponsors of today's show. Also on today's show, another co-sponsor is rightside.co, .live, .social. The new domains on the right side of the dot, and we'd like everyone to reach out to rightside.co and check out all of the cool options they have to help distinguish yourself, to help make your business, your message unique on social media, and that's rightside.co. So Mike, let's dive into today's show real quick. And real quick, Mike's a police officer, as he just shared with you. I'm a trial lawyer here in California with 30 years of experience. And what we're finding is that this problem on social media, the problem of people committing crimes, the problem of people taking advantage of other people on social, it's not getting better. It's getting worse, and it's getting worse exponentially fast. And because of what Mike and I do, we're exposed to this problem more so than probably the rest of you. And that's good and bad, right, Mike? I mean, it's good because it gives us a chance to try to fix the problem, but it's kind of bad because it really does raise our awareness of some of the major problems that are happening out there on social media.
Yeah, absolutely. And you might want to try to refresh. I'm seeing some comments here where they're saying you're a little blurry, a little choppy. So
that's the way I look. That's the way I look all the time.
Yeah, these problems they come to light, and we deal with them every single day in both of our professions on different spectrums. But it's unfortunate that we have to come across these things. The good side, I guess, if there's any, to the conduct or behavior of individuals both online and offline, the good side would be that we start getting the experience and start identifying both what the problems are and trying to find solutions to these problems to help our social media communities out.
So along those lines, I mean, what raised awareness for me is my audio back, guys. Mic, audio, and video, good enough?
Audio is good. You're still on the.
Okay, well, we're just going to have
video.
to roll with it. It looked good at my end, and hopefully
Okay.
The audio is what's the important part anyway. A couple of things have happened over the last year on social, everyone, that really helped raise my awareness as to the need of all of us watching out for each other. And we were having a barbecue out in front of our houses a couple of weeks ago. And while that was happening later on at night, somebody came down the street and stole a skateboard, a portable speaker, a fire captain's jersey and hat. They happened to be a fire captain's home, also an FBI agent. And we were able to subdue the gentleman, hold him accountable. And when he became belligerent and uncooperative, we had to call the Orange County Sheriff Department, and he spent the weekend in juvenile hall. But what we did as a community is we were watching out for each other. Okay, we were protecting each other. Just last night, I was walking the dog, Mike, and a neighbor came out and let me know that somebody from across the street, their garage had been broken into and a laptop had been taken out of their vehicle. They told me this to remind me, keep your garage doors locked, keep your eyes open, and help protect the community. So on social, for me as a lawyer this past year, you guys, there's been a couple of huge problems. And we started off almost a year ago with somebody that was consistently stealing money from other people under false pretenses, committing multiple crimes. And some people knew about it. Some people that knew about it didn't do anything about it. Some people that did step up and try to do something about it were ridiculed by other members of the social media community. And it kind of opened my eyes, like, wow, what's really going on out here? Since when did that become okay? We've had situations with well-known influencers actually defaming other individuals with blatantly false misstatements that later on after the fact, I mean, it's all kind of played itself out, but these are illegal, actually criminal and civil violations that they're actionable under the law. And it's interesting to see how the social media community handles these types of things, or actually looks the other way. I think that's the part that bothers me the most. We've had some instances on social with a well-known Snapchatter being arrested allegedly for producing and distributing child pornography. We've had situations on social media with people that a lot of us know breaching contracts, stealing trade secrets and things like this. I mean, there's all kinds of problems out there that are happening. And yes, sir.
Hey, Mitch. Well, welcome to the world of law enforcement. I'm going to have to relocate because they need to use this room for a priority case. So this will be interesting. Let me figure this one out. Okay.
All right.
Bear with me.
Yeah,
we're going to go on a little tour.
So while you're getting set up, let me just finish my thought process.
Oh, no worries.
And so I guess that raised in my mind, everybody, the concept that if we're using neighborhood watches offline to protect our neighborhood, our family, and our friends, why aren't we doing that online? Why aren't we doing that online to help protect our social media communities?
Hey,
right?
Can I use your office?
And this is the beautiful thing about live streaming.
Thank you, sir.
Let me see if I can mute Mike.
That's my
Tell
boss.
him we said hi. Tell him the global world says hi.
Can you hear me?
And,
no, I don't know.
So actually, while Mike's relocating, I actually wrote a post, and I want to share it with you.
Yes, y'all good in there?
And the post can be found. Hey, Mike, can you mute your mic? Can you mute your mic, Mike, until you get set up? Okay. And I wrote a post that shared my concerns hopefully in a much more clear fashion over at streaming.lawyer. Check it out. I think it's the top post if you go over to that site that lays out some of the current concerns with respect to monitoring and protecting our online communities. And I'd be curious to get your feedback. What do you guys think about that? We've got some very well respected and heavy social media users over in the chat right now. And let me give a shout out because you guys are seeing this stuff happen every single day. We've got Huzza over in the chat. We've got Ross Brand, Nick Rishwain, Sue Chef. We've got Barb. Excuse me if I miss anybody. We've got a lot of people that are on social, Jennifer Quinn, who are engaging on social all the time. And, the question is, how do we handle these situations, right? What do we do when we see something wrong? How are they handling these things in our neighborhood watch situations? And how can we use some of those principles in our online social media communities? Look at Nick giving a selfie right there. That is so cool. So what I would like to ask of you, especially with some of my friends while Mike's relocating, if any of you would like to jump on and kick the tires on Huzza with me and talk a little bit more about this, please indicate so over in the chat and I'll send you an invite and bring you on. It would be my pleasure. But what Mike's going to do, and there he is. Can you hear me, Mike? Can't hear you, bud. So what Mike and I talked about.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. And what Mike and I talked about is we talked about some of the training that he's given through his police department, training other police officers, training members of the local community on how to start and manage and enforce the neighborhood watches that we see offline. Okay, some of those principles apply online. And so what I'd like to do, Mike, is while you were gone, we were just talking a little bit about the problem, but can you share with us some of the approaches and techniques that you've taught people offline and why, and how we can bring those approaches and techniques online to help protect our social media communities?
Okay, well, and do you want me to dive into those examples we were talking about earlier, Mitch?
Absolutely, I think that'd be appropriate.
Okay, well, as I started looking at this topic, and I just kind of started sitting back and thinking of some of the big things I've seen happen, the big no-nos on social media. And we all love live streaming. We all love Snapchat. But here's something I think we all need to be cognizant about is when we're doing those or we're doing Periscope, we are immediately advertising our current location. And depending on who you are in the world, whether you're a small business owner, a large business owner, and an athlete, a celebrity, a social media influential person, you could be opening yourself up to, some stalking, or if somebody has some even worse or ulterior motives to locate you, you could be opening yourself up to that. And I want everybody to be cognizant that they need to, take steps to be prepared to deal with something like that. If I am a person that wants to do you harm, and that harm can cover a whole range of crimes, from simply stalking to maybe I want to commit a theft, maybe I want to do something worse to you. All I have to do is just start following you on social media. And if I'm close to you and I know that you're live, then I know where your location is. I could probably figure it out. Most people can. I know the locations in my city. And people of this nature, that's what they do. They gather their intelligence. They find out where you are. And if I can find out that you're in a certain portion of California or Colorado, Louisiana, wherever you might be, and then I just keep on honing down. And depending on my level of what I want to do to you, or how severe my infatuation is with you, will determine how far I take this. And once I've got you pinpointed your location, there's a lot of things I can do. I can stand off and watch you, and that's where I'm going to get my greatest intelligence about a person, especially using social media. But now I'm actually in the real world watching my target on social media, and now I can see how you act. And when you're live streaming, are you paying attention These are key points. Are you paying attention to your surroundings? Are you so ingrained with the, with the device? We're strong proponents against distracted driving, but now we got to start looking into being distracted simply while you're using social media. Is your head buried down? You don't know who's walking around you. You don't even know what your surroundings are. As a person that's going to do evil to you, I'm going to pick up on that and I'm going to watch it, and then I'm going to move a little bit closer to you, and I'm going to watch who you are as a person. If people come up and start talking with you, maybe other people know who you are, or especially if you're an athlete or a celebrity, if you're open and start talking with those people and are outgoing, that's going to let me know that I potentially could approach you and solicit some information. But even if you're not talking to me, I'm going to move closer because I want to overhear the conversation. Because when I overhear the conversation, I'm going to pick up on personal things that you're going to say. And if I'm in the conversation, I'm going to somehow navigate down that road to get the information I need.
Mike, let me
this
jump
is
in.
something that.
Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah, because what I'm hearing, and once again, that we've had some guests just join us. Mitch Jackson, a trial lawyer here in Southern California for the last 30 years, who has litigated against the bad guys, the kind of bad guys we're talking about in court. And now we're bringing some of the ideas that I'll be talking about online, and with Azusa police officer Mike Bires, who's also iSocial Cop on Twitter, lawandorder.live. Guy knows what he's talking about. We're talking about offline neighborhood watch techniques that we can use online. So Mike, what I'm hearing is, in the real world with neighborhood watch, you talk about neighbors paying attention to what's going on in their neighborhood.
Yeah, and even you're right, Mitch. Like let's just take the social media angle out of it at first. Okay, so we were talking about live streaming there, but let's go back to the bread and butter of us just being people walking out of our front doors.
Right.
Are we cognizant who's around?
Pay attention, right? Pay attention.
Right.
Pay attention to the vehicles in your neighborhood. Pay attention to who's walking around. Pay attention to who's knocking on your door and your neighbor's door. Okay, and there are obvious reasons why we're doing that. And what Mike and I were talking about is, why are people spending the even more time and paying more attention to those same type of situations that happen on the social media platforms? When somebody joins your live stream, do you know who they are? Have you done your due diligence? What type of reputation do they have? Like Mike said, are you disclosing where you live, where your business is? I mean, these are all things you need to be thinking about. And by the way, if you're a guest on someone's social media live stream, or you're commenting on a blog post, or you're looking at their social media post, and you see somebody who you know is a bad guy, somebody that may have ripped off somebody else, somebody that may be involved in any type of illegal conduct, Mike, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what should somebody do? I mean, offline, I think what you say is, if you see something strange or unusual, you need to report it, right?
Right.
What do you do?
Right,
what do you do online when you see somebody that you know that's one of the bad guys, or you see something where it's activity that looks suspect? Whatever that might mean. What do you do?
Yeah, and Mitch, this comes back to, you started to talk when you were talking in the opening, and you were talking about why some people, they either chastise others for calling it out or whatever. Hey, this fog, I like to call it a fog that we get enveloped inside of on social media, of always taking the high road, always acting appropriate, never wanting to upset anybody, never wanting to, just stir the pot. We got to get away from that fog a little bit and stand up for ourselves. My opinion is, if somebody's lurking around that shouldn't be there, that's dirty, that's doing crimes, that's doing whatever it is, whether it's fraud, theft, sex crimes against minors, whatever it is, if they're in your room and you're live streaming, you need to call them out and you need to tell them, you're not welcome here. Get off my stream. And you know what? Sometimes you need to identify who they are and let the audience know. Now, you got to be careful with this, and you're the lawyer. You'll have to explain about this, but you got to be careful. Make sure that you're not just calling them out off of something you heard. You need to have publicly available information to say something. But I say you call them out and you bump them. You just get them off your stream.
And we're two old school guys where that's just the way we were raised. Okay. And I have the same philosophy as Officer Mike Bires. Having said that, you do need to watch what you say about other people, because defamation offline applies online. You want to make sure that what you say about somebody is truthful and factual, okay? And unless you have personal facts as to what you're about to say about somebody else, it's probably not best. It's probably best not to say anything at all. And what I was going to suggest, Mike, is for people, if they have a reasonable suspicion of illegal conduct or inappropriate activity, whatever it might be, there isn't any reason why, when they're done with the show, they screenshot the show, they screenshot the blog post, they screenshot the avatar, whatever it might be, and contact their local police department, contact the local sheriff department. In other words, get the professionals involved and let them do an investigation to see whether or not the suspicion that you have, okay, is accurate. And real quick, Mike, over on the right, you guys, I shared, and I'm going to share it again. There's a post that I shared when Kim Garst and I did a show on how to deal with internet trolls. And you'll see how to stop trolls, and there's a link there. And in that article, I share applications and web services that allow you to put in somebody's name. Some of these services are free, some cost a little bit of money. Some we use as a law firm. I'm sure Mike in his police department may use some of these services to do their investigative services. But the point is you can plug somebody's name into these services, and the links I've included in the article to learn more about who you're dealing with. You can do your due diligence. And frankly, Mike and I had a situation where somebody was actually defaming me about something completely untrue and uncalled for. And we were able to use some of these resources with Mike's help and find out that somebody that was defaming me about mistreating women happened to be a registered convicted sex offender in the state of Ohio. Now, I'm not going to mention names because that's not what this show is all about. But, you know, it's one of these things where you can learn a lot about somebody with really 5 or 10 minutes worth of work, with 5 or 10 minutes worth of effort. And when you're doing business with somebody, when you're entering into a business arrangement with somebody, you know, do your due diligence, right? Figure out who you're going to be doing business with. Figure out who you're going to be sending a check to. Use these resources to find out exactly what the issues are. And, you know, I'm very passionate about this, and it's something where I've watched relationships online deteriorate or evaporate completely because of false information that's being put out there. I've watched people who have been robbed, who have been defrauded, where their whole approach to doing business online has changed just because a digital fox got his paw into a digital henhouse. And I think what Mike and I are saying is that's not okay. You know, it's not okay to just let these things go. If you've got the type of personality where you can call somebody out and you've got the facts to back it up, there's no reason not to do that. Okay, what you're doing is you're holding a criminal accountable. If you're not sure about what's going on, Mike, and somebody reaches out to your police department, let's say they feel that there's a child predator online posting content trying to lure victims to the local mall, okay? And they contact your police department. What is it that they need to tell you in order for you guys to actually roll up your sleeves and investigate what's going on? What's the best way to handle that?
Well, the first thing I'm going to say is if you have a situation like that happening and you do go to your local police department, you know, you're going to want to ask to speak to whoever does the social media for the department, whether it's for public relations reasons or not. And sometimes it's a civilian and sometimes it's an officer. And the reason why I say that is because the people that are doing the social media they know the ins and outs. They know exactly what is going on, whether the terminology of live stream and, you know, chats and what have you, everything that we use every day. So they're going to understand when you come in talking what you've seen or what you found online, and then you just have to be able to provide them with the information where to, you know, who is this person, their handle or their email address. All the information you can provide to them will be extremely helpful. And then from there, now we run into jurisdiction issues all the time, and but that's where it's
Explain
really good.
what you mean by that, by jurisdiction.
Well, So yeah, so if I have something, if somebody came into our lobby here in Southern California, and we're reporting, some type of pornography crime, or even just a theft crime occurring, let's say on the East Coast, what we most likely are going to do is we're going to have to do what we call a courtesy report. So we'll take the information here, and then we're going to forward it off to the agency where we believe it's happening, that jurisdiction, or else we'll notify the feds and get them involved, to figure out, get the cybercrime unit involved.
Let me give you a specific example. Sunday was Human Traffic Awareness Day. And a lot of people on social are behind that cause. It's a great cause. The Rotary International and the United Nations have been, dealing with this for years, and Rotary for decades. So it's something that I've always been involved with. But a problem that a lot of people aren't aware of is at the middle school and high school levels, and this is throughout the country, criminals are using social media to lure young kids, primarily young girls, to parties. These girls are getting drugged. Their drinks are being drugged. They're being sexually assaulted and or raped. They're being videotaped and photographed, and ultimately being blackmailed and pulled into the sex trade. Okay, if you don't do what we tell you to do, we're going to reveal all this to everybody. Drugs start getting introduced into the equation, and things spiral downhill quickly. This happens in every community around the country, and it blew me away when I first learned about this. So as a parent, I'm on social media, Mike, and I see some type of post, some type of live stream promoting this type of party. I've heard rumors about these kids through other neighbors, through maybe a neighborhood watch type of scenario. And I'm made aware that this is going on. I pick up the phone, I contact, in my county, it's the Orange County Sheriff Department. Okay, what do I need to say to them on the phone immediately to get their attention? I don't want them dancing around about, well, you may have to call this department or talk to this police officer or this sheriff deputy. I mean, I've got 15 minutes and then I've got to get on with my life. What can I say to get their attention, to raise awareness that there's an issue here that they need to look into so that they don't look the other way?
Yeah, so exactly, when you get on that phone and you're making that phone call, and depending on what you're seeing online, so if we paint the scenario that we know some girls are going, or guys are going to this house where there's speculation that is happening, that they're being forced into illicit activity, you need to say that to the dispatcher and let them know, I have information regarding a location. And you just say it like it is, where kids are being forced into, and don't dance around it, forced into sexual conduct, forced into prostitution, forced to take drugs, whatever it is, paint that picture clearly. A lot of times we get people that call and go, well, I think, well,
right.
If there's some doubt in your head, in your mind, then we're not going to really, we got to send somebody out. We got to look into this. Whereas opposed, if you're strong and you're firm and you're saying, hey, look, this is what's going on, and I need an officer or a deputy to come out to my house so I can show them exactly what I'm seeing online, they'll start responding. They'll get there.
So
Mitch, if it's something you think is going down right now, let's say it's Friday night, you're on the couch, you're surfing the net, and you see that this party is going on, you need to immediately take action and give law enforcement a call and tell them, hey, I think you need to get over to this house now.
Those are great. Those are great tips. What I'm hearing is be certain, be specific, be detailed, and have some conviction in what you're saying. Because if you don't feel that way, and if there's doubt in your mind, then why would the police department feel that there's veracity to what you're saying? Let's back up a second. I want to open up the seats and invite people in a few minutes, you guys. There's a couple of questions. So if you guys want to come on, say hi to Mike or me and ask your question or share your experience, we'd love to have you on. We're going to be doing that in a couple of minutes. But before we do that, Mike, we talked about in the offline world neighborhood watch scenario, pay attention, understand what's happening in your surroundings. Don't be afraid or concerned about reporting suspicious activity. That's number one. Number two, are there any additional offline neighborhood watch techniques that we can use online on the social media platforms to help protect ourselves and each other?
Well, I think communicating amongst each other is so key. Just as you and I know exactly, we've communicated offline or on sidebar about individuals, and so we know who who we're dealing with when we're online. This is it's amazing. I'm looking at some of the people that are here in this on the side here watching the show, and we all kind of know each other, but we also know who's, and I don't see any of them in here, but we also know who we need to be aware of. And by communicating with that amongst each other, it helps keep that community stronger and safer. And I do, hopefully, I want to go back to that scenario I was telling you about, somebody live streaming, kind of give them a solution on what they can do.
Sure.
Yeah. So, the point is, there's evil people. They're always going to be out there, and they're always going to be looking to do something bad, because that's what they do for a living. And so if you're live streaming and you're out in public, you got to there's two things you could do. One is, if you have the luxury of having a friend go with you while you live stream, or a coworker, and don't have them stand near you. That's not the point. The point is to have them act as a layoff, basically. And that's what bad guys do, is they have layoff suspects. So have that person, stand away from you, literally far away, and have them watch what's going on around you. And they'll be able to see if somebody's clued in to you, and are they walking around you? Are they hovering? Are they watching you? And then when you leave and you're walking to your car, or going to drive away, whatever, have them gently follow you to see if the people are following. Are they taking note? Are they writing down your license plate number? So that's one tip. The second tip, if you don't have the luxury of having anybody go with you, don't set up a pattern. Don't always live stream Monday from the mall at 2:00 in front of your favorite coffee shop, because I'm going to know exactly where to come next week. And also, pick your head up and start looking around. And a little technique we teach new police officers. Now, it's top secret, but I'll tell everybody
just
in
between
here.
us.
So here's just between us, you and I. So here's what we do: is we take new police officers and we say, look, I want you to look, and everything you see in a room or outside, I want you to immediately call it out. Get the brain connecting to the eye and start calling it out. So like, I'm in this room and I start looking, okay, electrical outlet, chair, wall, plaque, pin cushion, door, blinds, adjuster for the blinds, electrical outlet over here. And you just start ripping it off, and it'll help you start immediately identifying when you're looking around at your surroundings and getting those locked into your memory. So you need to do that. And here's the last part of this, the last tip. Bad guys hate it when you look them right in the eye. When you lock in and you've now identified who they are, they cannot stand it, because you are a perfect witness now.
Great tips that work offline and online. And along those lines, Mike, I shared the link to the Troll article, because there are tools there that allow all of you to screenshot, whether it's a picture or a video, whether you have a Mac or a Windows device, what you're watching, okay? And those links are over on the right. And so if you see somebody, and this is the lawyer in me talking, if you see somebody doing something wrong, if you see somebody misleading somebody or trying to persuade a minor to do something illegal, capture the evidence if you can. Copy the link, the URL, and save it. Take screenshots of the screen so that the police department and the lawyers have evidence to use that can be put together over time to help prosecute somebody. What you think you're observing may be just a sliver of all of the evidence, the tip of the iceberg of what's really out there. And what I found, just as the lawyer getting the incoming phone calls from everybody, is almost without exception, the people that call me, Mike, regarding online fraud or people stealing their money, they think they're the only victim. And once I start talking to them and I hear the same name of the criminal over and over and over again, I let them know, no, you're the 10th person to call me about this particular individual. It's not you. You're a good person. It's this person. It's a bad person with improper and illegal motives. So if you capture this evidence, there's a pretty good chance that you're not the only one having an issue. And all of this evidence can be put together and sent over to the police department, sent over to the district attorney's office for criminal prosecution. If you've lost money from a civil perspective. If you've been defamed from a civil perspective, you can actually bring an action for restitution to get your money back, or you can sue somebody for defamation. So it's all a matter of doing what Officer Bires has mentioned, accumulating that evidence so that if you decide to do so, if the district attorney's office decides to do so, there's evidence there that allows you to move forward. Hey, Mike, we had a question here from Nick Rishwain. Actually, sure. Nick asked a couple, and let me just go to the first question. And Nick asked, do local police officers address online crimes these days? I thought it was more of a federal issue. That is a good question. Maybe short and simple answer, Mike.
No, we do. All jurisdictions investigate them. Yep.
Yeah. And what I found, though, is oftentimes if the investigating police department determines that the cause of that crime, we're here in California, but the criminals in New York or the criminals overseas, I'm not seeing those claims get a high level of priority because they're too difficult to prosecute, yeah. Right?
Actually, international claims, they don't get prosecuted.
They don't.
That's why, because we don't have agreements with the majority of those countries where they're operating out of. Nationally, though, the cool thing is yes, once we've identified somebody in another state. Now, my department is not going to handle an investigation for something happening out of this. Maybe out of Southern California, we won't. So if it's happening in Northern California, we're going to hand it off to Northern California or Arizona or such and such, because simply we don't have the funding to send detectives and surveillances out of our jurisdiction.
But I'm thinking over time, I mean, since I first started seeing these problems arise maybe a decade ago, I'm guessing that the departments are being allocated more officers and more resources to take on this stuff because it's getting to be a bigger and bigger and bigger problem, right? Or at least that's the way it should be working. Okay, you just answered my question.
Yeah,
so let's do this. Nick, and this is great advice, Nick. Shouldn't we be using our cell phones to acquire the evidence? What an easy way to capture what's happening on your screen. What an easy way to capture what's happening offline in your neighborhood or online on your social media communities. Taking pictures of blog posts and comments, defamatory comments. I mean, what a great way to capture that information.
Yeah. And if you're, I saw Nick had also said something about, hey, be careful about taking a suspect's license plate, that type of thing, or even video or picture of the suspect. Well, here's the thing: we've all gotten so much. This is normal behavior. If I can show it, this is normal. Right now, if I walk outside of this, I'm going to find, I guarantee you, I can walk 100 feet. I'm going to find somebody holding one of these in their hand. So if you're in there and I had a guy in a when I was getting my haircut, and he was acting slim shady. And so I just played it off like I was Snapchatting, that type of thing. I'm picturing him. I was taking his picture because if something went down, I've got home skillet right here on my phone.
I love it. Yeah, some of the best evidence.
So the point is, Mitch, is just do what you normally do. If you normally stand here, you can do that, or act like you're turn around and go, hey, what's up? Look, I'm over here. You're not focused on you. Don't focus it on you. Focus on the bad guy that's behind you.
That's great advice. So here's what I'd like to do. My takeaway just from a lawyer's perspective, based upon what we've been talking about, is try to capture as much evidence as you can. Try to do your due diligence as best possible before engaging in business with someone, before deciding to do business with somebody. Find out who it is you're really talking to. Check out their past business history. For the newbies out there that are just starting their companies, young millennials that are just starting to rock and roll, and that's an exciting, awesome time in your life where you don't have a history. So if someone checks you out, there's not going to be a whole lot there to find out. You need to, there's the new aspect of doing business online, right? In other words, there's a new way of doing your due diligence. So who are you dealing with? Is what they're telling you exactly what, in fact, they've done in the past? Okay. Are they elaborate?
I'm chomping at a bit to get in here. I'm chomping. I want to get in here.
Yeah. So just
I wrote it. Yeah, I wrote it to you earlier, Mitch. Look, I can see the names that are in here. We got Jenny Q in here, and Nick and Sous Chef. These are people that know really how the internet and social media works. And I'm telling you right now, I can start a company with a website, with a social media presence, literally within 2 to 3 hours. And I just got to get a hold of my ring of friends and say, hey, and we've all done it. I did it yesterday when I started a new Facebook page. I took that Facebook page from zero likes up to, I think, like 100 within an hour, right? So now, boom, I must have credibility. He's got 100 people that like him, right? And so think about that. Put yourself on the other side of the line. Especially if you're somebody that deals business online. Okay, I know, we all know how to do this stuff. How hard is it for a crook to do it? And so you've got to do your research. You've got to go and look them up. And look, if I do a Google search and you put in my name in there, you're going to come up with pages and pages of information about Officer Mike Bires, all the articles I've written, the shows I've been on, pictures, all that stuff. You're going to see, okay, this guy's legit. This guy's been around. That's the other thing, is the time frame, Mitch. How long has this person been here? And you remember, again, we're not going to name any names, but that cat you were talking about that you and I both know, when I started looking and digging for him, there was not a lot of info at all about this guy. This guy had no track history. And I think it's so important that if you start having somebody that you might be doing business with and they have no track history, I'm sorry. I mean, I know we need to give everybody a break and we need to help newcomers into the business. I get that. But we got to look out for ourselves and our own vested interests. And, because you come first and I come first when it comes to taking care of myself and my money. Because I know, Mitch, if I lose $1,000 tomorrow because of a bad business deal, you and I are bros, but you're not going to come and say, hey, dude, no worries, here's $1,000. It doesn't happen that way. So we've got to look out for ourselves first. And also for the social media influentials that are in here. Hey, you know what? The information and the work that you do online is valuable, and that is your work. You've spent a lot of time and effort and training, testing, coming up with the theories, the tactical social media, I guess, as I call it. You come up with all of this stuff. How would you feel if somebody just took it from you? It's not a physical object. It's not. I can't touch it. But what if I just stole it? How about I steal it tomorrow, start my company within 2 hours, and go start selling my webinars off the information?
So let me jump in.
So we just got to be careful about that.
And so that's a violation of a trade secret. That's trade secret theft, and I'm seeing it happen all the time. There are some very well-known people on social who are both victims of trade secret theft and who are using other people's content to do what you just said. And it's unfortunate that it's happening. And there's going to be consequences, but we all need to be careful. We all need to do our due diligence. A legal tip for everybody is something happened about 8 months ago where a lot of people lost a lot of money to one individual. And I almost became a victim of that individual, Mike, but I insisted that what he wanted me to do, we first put into writing. We enter into a contract. And in fact, in the situation I'm talking about, there was a 50% retainer that was due to me before I took the next step. And when none of that happened and the due date came and went, and I followed up. It's a red flag. And I followed up, with an email and, oh yeah, no problem. I'll get it over to you by 5. And none of that happened. So just having done what I've done for 30 years, right then I knew, okay, there's an issue here. And I pushed it aside and just went on with some other things because I've got a lot to do. But what I then learned, and I think you're aware of the situation, is that there were literally dozens of people out there that had experienced similar situations. And so one way I was able to avoid this was by insisting that our business arrangement be put into writing. So my advice to everybody out there is when you're doing business with somebody, whether they've been open for a day and you're excited to jump in, okay, at the ground level, sometimes that's an exciting, good business move. Or you're doing business with somebody that's been practicing for 30 years, regardless of what they do for a living, get it in writing. Okay, get it in writing and cross your T's and dot your I's. That will help protect you.
You know what? I want to talk about that and the fact that, okay, so two legit people that are doing legit business, I would actually, my impression of you, if you were to come to me and you were to say, "Hey, Mike, I want you to build us a website, and blah blah blah, and let's knock out a contract," I would be more impressed and love the fact that you asked for that, as opposed to getting upset and thinking you're questioning my honesty. For example, I had a parent that this is the first parent that asked me this. She's, my kids, they play together, and she was really nervous how she approached. She says, "Hey, look, I know you're a police officer, and I know you have a gun at home because you carry a gun all the time. I'll be honest, I'm scared when my kids are over here." And I said, "You know what? I'm so glad you asked me that question." I was almost in tears, because I was like, here's a parent that gets it. And I walked her right in and I showed her exactly how my gun is locked up, lock and key, the minute I walk in the door of the house. Period. It doesn't matter if I come in for 1 second, like how we run out to the driveway, get in the car. Oh man, I forgot my phone, and run back in. If I enter that house, that gun is locked up. When she heard that, she loved it. But here's an example of, I wasn't offended. I embraced her question, like, "Hey, this is somebody that's legit, that cares, that's,
Right.
I loved it." So it's the same thing. So if you ask me, Mitch, if we're going to go into business tomorrow and start a hamburger store, and you say, "Hey, Mike, before we even talk, we need to put this down in writing," good to go, man, because now I know my interests are also protected.
I love the fact that you brought that up, because I feel the same way. It shows me that the person I'm doing business with is a business person. They understand that contracts, they avoid misunderstandings between the party. Everybody's on the same page. Everybody knows what they're getting into. And frankly, when you're dealing with bad guys, they're not going to be signing these contracts. And if they do, it's a certain type of contract where it doesn't require them to pay anything out of money, so out of pocket, any money out of pocket. And that's a red flag in and of itself. So just be careful out there, you guys.
Right.
Mike, what's interesting is during this show, I actually received a private message on Twitter, and it raises something that you and I talked about. Mike and I were thinking about doing a weekly show, where we do talk specifics, where we do deal with specific individuals, specific situations, affecting our online social media communities. And the private DM I got did have to do with something that somebody's observing that doesn't look right, it doesn't smell right, it doesn't feel right, and they're wondering, how do we deal with this? Okay, and that's the question that most people have when they call me. So Mike and I are curious if you guys would be interested in us, having this type of show, whether it's a weekly show or a bi-monthly show, where we actually talk specifics. I don't know. I mean, we haven't really kicked the tires on the idea too much, but it's something that I know Mike's 2 thumbs up on, and I'm getting there. I'm like 1 thumb up, and then this one's kind of like this. I'm almost there. because there are a lot of issues. What I don't want to do is I don't want to create a scenario, and I've seen this online, and Mike, I think this is something we do need to talk about. There are a lot of people that are wrongfully accused of doing something they never did. There are a lot of people that maybe say something in a way that they didn't mean. Okay, we all make mistakes. At least I know I do. I don't know if you do,
Right,
Mike, or anybody else watching, but we all make mistakes. And what Mike and I are talking about is the difference between making a good faith, honest business mistake and being that person that consistently engages in misleading, fraudulent, illegal conduct. And that's the difference. Okay. Sometimes, with the issues of bullying and the issues of shaming and the issues of defamation online, because everything we do is being discussed, and it falls, it has to be true. It has to be accurate. It can't be misleading. And so there are some issues with what Mike and I are talking about, but we're wondering how many of you would be interested in participating in this kind of show. I mean, let us know over in the comments if you want to pop on and talk to us about this. Let us know in the comments if you want Mike and I to maybe take this one more step. I mean, it's up to you guys. What do you think, Mike? First of all, we're going to have to get Mike not to freeze up. Okay, so you're frozen at my end. Let me see. I'm looking over at the comments. Mike, why don't you refresh? Is Mike frozen at your end, everybody? Hey, Chris Strub, it's good to see you. Chris has just joined us. And let me see. Mike appears to be frozen, Mitch. So Mike, you're frozen. So just go ahead and refresh. So does anybody want to jump on? Anyone want to jump on and just talk about the general concept of, or elaborate on what we've been talking about? Let's see what
There we go.
here.
Hopefully I'm back.
Yeah. So Mike, your thoughts on the pros and cons of doing that type of show? We were thinking about, we could bring in other police officers, judges, other lawyers, other victims, people that have been victimized and have litigated these cases in the courtrooms across the country. I don't know. I think it'd be a fascinating show.
Well, I think if we do it, I think we should take one issue. So somebody tells you, hey, here's the scenario I've got, and then we literally make it like a TV drama, made for TV drama. We talk it out. We talk out the situation. Hey, here's what we know is going on. Here's what you can do. Give them a solution, a couple different options. And now, of course, people might think, well, yeah, but what if the Slim Shady character is watching the show? Good, because we're coming after you. That's my thought.
Yeah, I think the last, someone said I was frozen. If you guys want me to refresh, just let me know over in the chat.
And you know what? Actually, Mitch, I got to bail out because I know my lieutenant needs to use the office, and well, you know.
Okay. All right.
So,
before you bail out,
sure.
Mike, if people want to follow up and connect with you between now and our next show, if we do one,
definitely.
what's the best? How can everybody get in touch with you?
So on Twitter and Snapchat, iSocialCop. Just hit me up on Snapchat. You'll enjoy some of my snaps that I do, and I have a lot of fun with that. And then I've even got a Facebook page. I'm trying to start a professional page, iSocialCop, also on Facebook. So yeah, there you go.
All right, Mike. Thanks for being on, buddy.
Hey, no
I appreciate it. I'll be in touch. Okay.
Yeah, and have a great day. And everybody else that's out there, have a great day. And it's an honor to be here talking with all of you. I recognize some of the names in here. It's great to see you again. So take care, everyone.
All right. Bye, Mike.